Hey, what's up YouTube? I am your favoriteest, friendliest neighborhood American infidel, and I am deeply concerned with a foul, deviant creature that I'm 100% sure that 75% of the time is hell-bent on overthrowing humankind and taking over as the alpha being on this planet. They are merely biding their time for the most opportune moment to strike, and that little deviant fucker are ants. Yes, the tiny little things that ruin picnics and stare at you like you just caught them rubbing one out on the toilet. Now, as I play this video game, of which I am more than sure will soon depict reality, because we are just one nuclear event away from these things just being huge like this, I have compiled a short list of reasons as to why you should go out and start stockpiling munitions this very minute in hopes of to repel this soon-to-be invasion. Now, the first thing we have to realize is that ants are extreme tryhards. Ants will literally do anything for the win. I hardly like to hold doors open for pregnant, handicapped women, and if you told me you needed 50 cents to buy medicine for your dying mother, by the end of that very sentence, I would have already pumped those bad boy quarters into the old school Donkey Kong machine at my laundromat, and I sure as hell wouldn't place my life on the line just so that your motley stupid ass would have a safe place to sleep at night. Why? Because I'm a human. But ants are exactly the opposite of that. If one ant was about to fall off a cliff on the way back from slurping up your spilled Kool-Aid, there would be 100 other ants just willing to throw themselves in front of that ant, saving them from death. Ants of the species Pharellus Priscillus bury their colony entrance each night in order to hide it from enemies. The few ants that are trapped on the outside will certainly be dead by the next morning. Now, this is the first known example of a suicidal defense that is preemptive rather than a response to immediate danger found in the animal kingdom. Also, ants have already figured out ways to fuck up with our communications. There's a type of ant that is called the Asian super ant. They are naturally drawn to electricity. These ants love electricity more than they feel they need to eat or drink, and swarms of these ants can and have caused blackouts in Great Britain. Once one ant gets zapped, it releases a pheromone that calls out to the rest of the swarm to attack and attack and attack, and eventually the power just goes out. So once wide-sweeping events of power outages are responsible by ants start happening, we know the shit's about to hit the fan. Next thing we need to know is that, ants, they can basically live anywhere. There is no hiding from these guys. Ants can live in the middle of the desert. There's a type that can withstand degrees of up to 150 degrees. There's a type in Australia that has learned how to live underwater in the marshes. So when the tide goes high, these guys are they're cool. They have underground layers. They're the Dr. Evils of frickin' ant society. These guys have learned to just have little air bubbles throughout the hives so they can just chill underwater. They know how to swim, so basically even if we have to go to a water world style of existence, these guys are going to be fine. Oh, and also, the bad ants? The fire ants? The most badass ants out there? These guys, when like a flood comes, or a tsunami, or heavy rains, or just something like this, fucking fire ants know how to, the entire colony basically just swarms into one giant floating ball, and the queen will live on the top of the ball with all the little baby ants out there. And what happens is they're just cool. They're fine like this. Scientists are actually studying them in hopes of figuring out how we can have better floating boats. So, yeah. And that's not the first instance where science are studying from ants in hopes to better human society. Ants, for instance, are excellent farmers. They grow their own crops. Underground, they actually have their own shrooms. So not only will they just be dancing on our graves, they'll be tripping balls as they do so. Ants actually are capable of growing antibiotics. And the reason they grow these antibiotics is so that other pests and other bacteria don't kill their crops. So, I mean, way before we had antibiotics, hundreds of thousands of years before we figured that shit out, ants were just like, yeah, man. Yeah, what's the big deal? What's the big deal about that? Now, the other thing that is really, really cool and fascinating and just makes you want to shit your pants, ants have figured out how to clone themselves. So, for example, if there was a war going on and the queen wanted soldier ants, she could go mate with the soldier ant, and what happens is she can leave her DNA out of the process. So there's no female, there's no other DNA, it's straight up soldier ant DNA. So she can plop out hundreds of thousands of soldier ants, in a week. And if they need, like, farmer ants or, regular worker ants, they can do that. Ants also can go out, take over other colonies of ants, usually other species of ants, and take slaves. Yes, ants actually have their own slaves, and what they do is that these slaves are responsible just for the general upkeep of the colony. They also take care of, like, the larvae. As the larvae develop, these ants, and they take care of them. Now, the flip side of that coin, which really makes me worried, is that the enslaved ants have learned to rebel. These ants will actually start rebellions. They will go out, they will be so sneaky, they'll plant booby traps and shit out in the colony hive. They'll straight up go Rambo and just kill the shit out of the larvae. Before the larvae even hatch, they just tear them to pieces. It's like up to like 35% of the larvae don't even like hatch because they're just like horribly neglected. It like boggles my mind. It's like we are not waiting for ants to take over the earth, because ants already have taken over the earth. They just let us be, and one of the reasons they let us be is because they actually use us already in a bunch of different ways. There is one type of ant colony, the Argentine ant colony, that this one colony, this one like family of ants, they extend from America into Europe and all the way to Japan. And part of the way that they were able to do this was that they kind of jumped aboard like ships. As we were like ship bananas and products from, continent to continent, these guys, they just caught a ride. And they left pheromones behind so that with another shipment would come, those ants would be able to follow that scent and find their way to the mega colony. Now, when I say mega colony, I mean mega colony. Just this one colony alone is like 200 billion strong. Ants outweigh us like 40-1. I mean, it's crazy. In a straight up mano-a-mano, every guy you have, every guy we have, ants will just freaking destroy us. And that's without being like supersized like these crazy guys. But the number one thing that we have to like realize is that ants are capable of higher learning, meaning that ants actually teach each other ants. And it's not just like monkeys, because monkeys are basically mimic what other monkeys do. The teacher ant will slow down and to make sure that the student ant knows what's going. This is basically like, the stupid kids in the back of the class, the teacher has to teach them and then proceed with all the other smart kids. No other animal can do this except for humans. So these guys are really close to already being us. It's only a matter of time before, like, we're all dead. And the ants are just like, okay, bitches, go clean the nest. But that's the end. I'm done. I'm American Infidel. Y'all YouTube, stay classy, guys. Peace!